we have to create the right vibe, you know, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at Purely Arsenal FP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another edition of a Purely Arsenal sit-down podcast. We're here to discuss the North London derby. North London is red, or is it black? Either way, it's Arsenal. Neil Shah with me. How you doing, Neil?
Delighted, my friend.
Oh,
what can I say?
It was fantastic. Fantastic. Called my brother afterwards. Of course, he has a habit of not watching games because he's too nervous. So I'm screaming and he's just screaming, what? He doesn't even know what the score is. And I thought it was hilarious. I went, why aren't you watching? Let me talk you through it. Brilliant. But it was one of those ones where you watch it back. I don't know about you, but I certainly had some nerves throughout. And I think when you knew it was going to be a certain type of game, didn't you, Neil? We got to get into it, but you knew it was going to be a certain type of game, especially with our injuries and things like that. But you're never comfortable as an Arsenal fan, sort of spending a lot of time without the ball. I don't think you ever get comfortable with it, especially after the long sort of Arsene Wenger era where it was just, you just felt so much comfort in just having the ball. But I would say out of all the managers I've watched personally, I'm the most comfortable with Mikel Arteta without the ball. I would say that. I'm sure there's feelings of that around the George Graham era too. But I absolutely am starting, certainly in the last 12 months, I've been kind of like a little bit more, still not completely at ease. But we've got to get into it, Neil. Before we talk about the lineup stuff and all the injuries, 7 senior players out, 5 kids really on the bench, 2 senior players. We were bare bones, to be perfectly honest, no matter what people say. We really were. And the schedule's done us no real favours, to be fair. We've had a very, very hard start and it's only continuing. But Neil, North London derby, no one's going to take any of those excuses, right? Especially when you're up against a juggernaut like Man City. We knew we had to go there, and we had to try to get a win, didn't we? And we did it. What were your overall thoughts and sort of big takeaways from the game, mate?
Just very quickly, the importance was, it was massive, because obviously we dropped them 2 points against Brighton, and then to have Tottenham and City together back to back. We just couldn't. I was suggesting that if we beat Brighton, I remember, then maybe we could get away with a draw with Tottenham and Man City, because then effectively we might still only be a couple of points behind them or something. But now we had to go there and win, so there was even more pressure on the lads. And then, as you said, with the missing personnel, it was even more. It was heightened, really. It made the challenge a lot more difficult. So the importance of it was massive. I mean, it always is, to be fair, especially when it's with them lot. I know, that they're never going to be anywhere near us, but it's always nice to get one over them, isn't it? So, and I just love the way their fans had already decided that they'd won the game when they heard about our misfortunes with our missing personnel, injuries, etc. And it's almost as if that made it even more sweeter for me, because it goes to show that I think one thing that's happened, you're quite right with Arteta, is more about not playing so much with the ball. And when you said George Graham, that's exactly what I was going to say, that it's more so like George Graham than Wenger in a way, because he's shored up his defence. Exactly. George Graham always had this philosophy that you start from the back, that you make sure that your defence is solid and then you work forward. And I think Arteta is employing a very similar kind of tactical philosophy with his team. And it goes to show, Jack, the stats are insane. We've only, for this season in itself, we've had 3 away games. Well, we've played 4 games, conceded 1 goal. But the whole of 24, 3 away goals conceded is unreal. It's unheard of. And the BBC, or much of they put some stats up. In terms of defence, we're first in every single category in 2024. It's insane. So, I think that's what Arteta's doing, and all credit to him. And look, for me, it might not be the prettiest to watch. We're so used to the way Wenger used to play. And I remember I was recently seeing only a couple of days I was watching some clips, even with the team after the Invincibles, and we weren't, we were just the top 4 team in those days. some of the football and team goals that we used to come up with were incredible. And, it's sexy football is all well and good, but this also shows that we have adapted. We have adapted. We can win when we're not playing that well, in my opinion, because I don't think we still have started the best in these first 4 games, and yet we got 10 points. So that's the other thing. And I think we do have a plan B and plan C now, because that's not something else we couldn't come up with. We could only play one way, couldn't we? But now look, we're allowing to be, well, they can come at us. We won't have so much possession. They were topping everything, by the way. XG, possession, shots on goals, everything. Shots on off target. They get better us in every way, but yet we still prevailed by winning 1-0. So I think that we can adapt. And the main thing is what you said right from the start, that the depth. We've got depth now. We had missing personnel, yet we had, with who we have, with the versatility of a lot of our players, I think we've got depth now, and we can really tinker with the team, which is so important. Actually, that's what earmarked. That was the earmark. That's what highlighted a big thing for me yesterday, and for you today. Sorry, Jack. We've got so many important games coming up, Champions League, everything. We need to be able to rotate. And that showed a lot for me, where we don't have to always have our best players, but we can still find a way. So massively important, but the biggest thing, as you said, North London derby, bragging rights again, and 3 on the spin. Not even Wenger did that. 3 on the spin, Jack. Unbelievable.
Since 1988, was it? I think the first time it's been done, 3 away from, and which is fantastic. Like you said, we've conceded, I think, 3 goals away from home in 2024. I mean, it's been phenomenal run so far, and let's hope it continues. But we've really. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I the more the week went on, I started thinking a lot more about line-up and way we would set up. And, obviously we lost Odegaard in midweek to an ankle injury, which looks not massively long-term, but still very significant with the amount of games we've got coming. Obviously, Rice for the suspension that was ridiculous that we talked about last week. And let's be honest, they're 2 of our best midfielders. I mean, they are 2 starting midfielders. The third one's always up in the air a little bit, but and beyond that, I think we had 3 left backs out. Zinchenko again out today, and Calafiori's picked up a knock on international break, so he's out. So really, there wasn't really a lot of options. Really, in the end, when you looked at it, you were like, the team kind of has to pick itself. But I mean, fair play to Jorginho specifically, because he hadn't played a minute for club or country all season, and to come in and play, I think he played the 90, and he was cramping and everything, and basically to play kind of we were definitely more in a double pivot, definitely adjusted the formation a little bit. He sat next to Partey much more than Rice typically does, but he also was the furthest forward at times, and at times when Spurs had the ball at the back, he was kind of the leader of the press, which was what Rice does, a lot of the time, if it's not Odegaard, or Havertz, and that's obviously a position that Jorginho is not necessarily fully comfortable with and things like that. So I kind of forgave some of Jorginho's sort of lapses and losses of the ball, even though it was very frustrating, especially when we were 1-0 up. I just didn't want to lose the ball. But like you said, you're right. I mean, they had twice the amount of passes that we did. They had more shots on target. But when you look at the XG, which is the expected goals in terms of quality of chances, we were higher. And our chances were the better quality. I mean, if you think about the 3 big chances on our end, Martinelli was fantastically through, which I'm sure you'll discuss his performance. Havertz, the header as well, which very unlucky, which is actually great by Martinelli to get the ball across to him. That's what we want to see more of. And obviously the goal, which was a fantastic goal, which we'll get to, but a fantastic chance as well, really. I mean, it's a really clear open header. Neil, but I mean, their best chances, to be honest, from my recollection, came early on, really, and they weren't terrific. It was the Kulusevski pullback one early on, maybe I'm talking first 5 or 10 minutes here, and then I remember them having a cross-come shot that David Raya palmed away maybe 2 or 3 minutes after that. But beyond that, Neil, I don't really remember them having any great chances. There was a sort of looping Solanke header that went wide, and Romero, when he did his Gary Doherty bit, had a header, and then it was just a lot of long range shots, wasn't it, really? So you say that, but defensively we were, because they had so much of the ball, Neil. I mean, 65+% possession. Defensively we were so fantastic, and we'll get to Gabriel, but I do really think Timber, for me, was who's come in for a bit of criticism early in this season, which I thought was incredibly harsh based off his injury and what we know of him and how good we know he's looked pre-injury and all this kind of stuff. But I thought he was colossal back. I thought he was just fantastic. And in terms of his one-on-one defending, I learned a lot from him in this game, and I just thought it was fantastic because they tried to put maybe 3 or 4 different players out there to him, and not one of them got any joy, in my opinion.
You've got probably 2 of the best centre-backs in Europe, if not the world, in my opinion. And then now to have a left-back, which I think is a revelation. We were unlucky not to see him last season, but now it's a lucky new signing, which is good. And I think he reads the ball so well. His timing is so on point. I think we found our missing piece because, we had Zinchenko, who, let's just be honest, he's not a defender, in my opinion. Tierney, who never really worked, I think, with Arteta. So then he's going to probably be, he's still with us, but I'm sure that won't be for much longer. And then, all right, Tomiyasu, I thought wasn't too bad, and he was very good one-to-ones, etc. And he kept his Salah quiet and a couple of others in some important games, but he's injury riddled, isn't he? And the consistency isn't there. And then, all right, this has come after, but this new guy, I can't never say his name, Rico, I call him. He's a beast. Big Cali. Let's call him Big Cali. Looks like a fabulous player. Unfortunately, he's got injured, but boy, I think when he starts, he's to have him and Timber in that position. Oh my goodness, Jack, we are really looking at something very, very special. I think he was solid yesterday. Yeah, I think it was very unfair for him to come under any kind of criticism. He's a new player. He's just come off such a massively terrible injury. You've always said, some of the other people I hear saying that some people don't even ever recover from an injury like that. They're never quite the same. So it's going to take him a bit of time to bed in. He doesn't want to have a recurrence or a relapse. I still think he's performing better than average considering what he's come off on. But his performance yesterday was the best I've seen so far. I don't know about you, but defensively anyway. Yeah, I think the only thing is we know that he can progress with the ball as well, but that will come. And let's be honest, the team didn't play that game yesterday. We just spoke about it. They were playing, without possession. So you can't maybe fault him so much on that. I think for him to add to what we already have in the defence, I just think it's incredible. And already our defence has been so good, as we highlighted just a bit earlier with the stats. It's only going to get better. For a team to be comfortable, that's what makes it all the more special for me. We're comfortable letting the other teams come on to us. And even, look, let me just go a bit forward and get into the game. I was uncomfortable in the first 15 to 20 minutes. I really was. I thought we didn't quite have our shape. I think we were a little bit all over the place, but that could be because we've had this change in personnel, and some of the players, I don't think they've actually played with each other. So they had to, get used to that. So I think there was a little bit of a bedding in process. So unfortunately, it's happening in the game, but we had to do it. We had no choice. So I think that may be the reason for that. But then after that, I thought defensively we were in such control, and it's almost as if we were teasing them, Jack. We're like, yeah, go on, let's try it. But we were so compact and so well organised at the back. You're talking about they had fleeting chances. Well, that's because our defence was just muffling them out half the time. If it's not Saliba, it's Gabriel. If it's not Gabriel, it was Timber. And Timber was just fantastic. But I think, give him time. Give him a few more games. You'll see what he is. Ajax really rated him massively. And I think people that know anything about football and what they've seen of him, they know that we've got something very special here. But he's got to come off a massive injury. Give the guy a chance. And people who criticise him are just idiots. They're just looking for likes and follows and rubbish. So don't worry about that, Jack.
Yeah, I love what Gerald Hato said, the player we were interested in from Ajax. They asked him, when you join up with the national team, or when you've been a part of or around the national team? It was under 21s or for the first team. Do you really sort of look up to Van Dijk and what he's done? He said I look up to Jurgen Timber because of what he's done at Ajax, and he went, and he's my player that I look up to. And he was, I mean, if you remember the video that. I always think about that video that Ajax created. I mean, it shows really they were very aware of how special this player was, and we all have been. I mean, I said it when he came over here because he had a little setback in pre-season, but when he played over here, the setback was after that when he came back for the Emirates Cup and things like that. And I would say he was our best player over here. He was playing at right centre back actually, but he was our best player, and I felt a lot of that was on the ball and driving through with the ball. And I think in this game, like you said, he didn't have many opportunities, but there's a couple of moments where he got on the ball and he had a cross that blocked, and then he had a shot that was blocked. And you could tell he was really frustrated with himself, like he should have done better. But I think he's got a lot to offer on the ball, to be honest. And obviously, in this game, I mean, if you look at his stats, there's nothing amazing. His pass accuracy was like 52% or something like that, but it was off the ball defensively. He was just so key, I thought. He made 3 big tackles, interceptions, clearances, but I just thought the way he handled the one-on-one assessment of Johnson's a very fast winger, but they also late on moved Son over there. They had Kulusevski trying to get at him over there, and they just got absolutely no joy. And I have to say, I do think I sort of saw the contrast a little bit between him and White and what the qualities are. White obviously so good on the ball, such a good engine, such a good link-up player for Saka, but I feel he defensively, sometimes up against tricky, fast wingers, he does worry me a little bit. And I said it last week against Matoma, and a lot of people got a lot of pushback on it. They were like, no, he was good. And I was like, okay. And I felt it this week as well. I felt he wasn't great, especially first half. I felt he wasn't great. He allowed Son a little bit too much space. He was a little bit sloppy in possession 2 or 3 times, which is unlike him, to be honest. But more than that, I just feel sometimes he's a little bit, not lazy, but he just doesn't have quite the one-on-one sort of technique. He's not a fullback naturally, after all, and maybe that's part of it. But in the end, I think White improved and progressed as the game came on. But I do think it was a really great performance by the whole back four. I mean, you said you were worried in the first 20, Neil. I agree with you. I think we sat a little bit too deep, and once we realised how to get out. What's your thoughts on Martinelli there? Because that was the first time we really got out was I think the Havertz chance, which I think that came before the other one, which was the header, which he did very, very well for. But then he has such a big opening there. And the criticisms of Martinelli in recent sort of months have been that he just doesn't get his head up and make the right decision in the final third, whereas he used to do it far more often, And I think we all agree he should have squared it to Saka 2 or 3 steps earlier. But he wasn't aware, or he didn't get his head up quick enough. And the concern I have there, Neil, is I think he'll start next week. And I think he was immense defensively in this game, him and Saka. But if he gets a chance like that next week, you can't do that, can you? You just can't.
I completely agree. How much I've rated the kid, and I wanted him to go on and become one of the best strikers in the world. I've said it so many times, and I still think he's got the potential, but I just don't know. I think it's the last season and a half, maybe even 2 seasons. He's just gone off the ball, Jack. His final ball decision is wrong every single time. Well, not every single time, but because obviously he did give that chance to Havertz, which, as you said, was a little bit unlucky. But it's more the cases than not now that the final ball is wanting. It's either the shot is wrong, and as in this case, he should have maybe squared it to Saka, who was actually going mental at the fact that he didn't get a chance, or when he shouldn't do that and he should shoot, he doesn't. It's just, and he can't seem to beat, for me now, his final man. He might beat the first 1 or 2, and the final man, he just doesn't seem to. And it's, this is going to get me killed. But the way Pepe on the right became very predictable. I'm starting to see that in Martinelli now as well. It's just very predictable. You just know what he's going to do. You're completely right. He's one of these players that just runs. He's almost like his head. It was that the great 200 runner, Michael Johnson? What was his name? And he was run like that, very straight in a different kind of. Remember, he used to
yeah. Arms pumping, yeah.
Yeah. Martinelli, watch him. Run like that.
Get your head up,
Get your head up, because I think you're missing out. Your awareness is completely muffled if you don't do that. And I think that's maybe one of the causes why, he's lacking. But the pace is there. It's obvious to see. The pace is there. He's got it. But he used to be frightening. He doesn't, for me, now, if I was on the opposition, I wouldn't be so frightened anymore, because you know that you're going to, you just think you know what he's going to do, and you can just cut him short before that final lethal pass or whatever it might be, or shot. I think I used to get really excited thinking he's going to play, and I can't wait to watch him. I'm not so sure anymore, and I don't want this to be a criticism of Martinelli, because the irony here is, I was going to say to you on this pod, I said maybe we should change him, convert him to a defender, because defensively he was brilliant.
Yeah, the way they were playing like wing backs, weren't they, at times?
Yeah, I know. But you can't follow him. I think it was early on that he stopped a real quite frightening threat, and he just got back. And I remember the commentator saying that was great.
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I think he put it out for a corner.
Yeah,
put it out for a corner, but he did great to get back in.
Really good to track back. So I don't want to sit there. I don't want to destroy him, because I love the guy, but I am concerned. And I don't know if he should start against City, but I think he will. You're right.
I think for that reason that we just talked about, and you know how fast they are down the wings, Walker and whether it's Doku or Savio, I don't see that. Maybe the trust might be there in a Sterling or something like that eventually, but I don't see it. And Trossard lacks that physical, athletic ability that he does. So for me, he definitely. That's why I wouldn't start him in midweek. But yeah, I think he definitely does. And I don't want to, like I said, a lot of what he did was good. A lot of what he did defensively was good. That's not what you want always from your wingers, because when they do get forward, you need them to be able to provide. And that's what Saka does. You see what I mean? We've scored 6 goals this season, and none of them happened without Bukayo Saka. There's the difference. I mean, that's the chalk and cheese there. And the difference with Saka, again, is he's proven that consistency season in, season out, whereas Martinelli spiked and then dropped, and he's been very inconsistent. He's had that one consistent year, but we need to see it more often. No, it's there in him. It's there in him because he's done it before. But I don't love the excuses about the left half space not being perfect for him, because I do always feel like the opportunities are there for him to deliver. That it's not like we're not playing him in, and that was a perfect example of that. But at that point, they'd had a few chances. We'd had the best chances. There was a little incident with Timber. What were your thoughts on that, where Timber and Poro went in? Because it's been made an absolute meal of here. And I think I'm trying to be as objective as I can be on it, and I've got my opinion. But what were your thoughts on that whole incident and the reaction to it? Certainly from ridiculous Sky Sports pundits like Paul Merson and Lee Dixon, by the way, who both should know better. Because I don't care if they get what they are for Arsenal, etc. I remember them playing. We all know them as Arsenal legends. But as commentary, they're shocking, and they shouldn't be saying it. But yeah, go on.
No, I'm disappointed with Merson as well. He's just agreeing with all the other idiots on Sky. I can't believe they were just quick, straight off pull the trigger. Oh, that should have been a red card. I don't even think it was a foul. Look, people are going to say, yeah, but you're Arsenal. Of course you're going to think that. Well, no. If you look at it in slow motion, he's gone to get the ball quite fairly. Yeah, unfortunately, the way his foot's hit the ball, it's rolled and hit the guy's ankle. There is absolutely no intent from my point perspective. And I'm just looking at it from a common sense point of view. He hasn't gone to take the guy's foot out. He's gone to get the ball. And I know sometimes players maybe should, think a little bit better when they are going to go for the ball, but they know they've got no chance and they will take the player out. I don't think it is that in this case. If you just have a look at it in slow motion, he's gone to get the ball, his foot's gone over it, and then it's rolled across or rolled down it and hit his ankle. That's how it's happened. That for me is no intention at all. That's not a foul, Jack. It's not even a yellow card for me, right? And then they're going on about he should have been off. He's very lucky. Oh, he's a very lucky boy. I said, you're a very lucky boy to be sitting there in a studio commentating and being a pundit because you know jack shit, sorry to swear, about the game. Because if you could look at that and say that's a straight red, I have no words anymore for these pundits. They make me. The only one that I like now is our old boy Theo Walcott. He's fantastic. He's brilliant. But the rest of them, and that's what I'm talking about. Ian Wright and Theo Walcott are great examples that, all right, maybe a little bit of bias comes out, but Theo does it better than Ian has, actually. He's quite sort of impartial, but you can see there's a little bit of bias towards Arsenal, which is nice to see that affection. Merson, even Alan Smith and Lee Dixon, the fact that they were part of something very special. And with Arsenal, I'm not saying that they'd be impartial, because I don't like that either, because I sit there and criticise others from other teams doing that. But at the same time, they seem to almost want to really get on the Arsenal players' backs or the team. They really do. And they go to the nth degree with it. And I don't like it. But I'm sorry, I don't care what anyone says. No one's going to change my mind. That wasn't even a yellow, Jack. And then what followed afterwards... I mean, do you know what? In a way, I don't blame what happened, but I'm glad that their keeper got a yellow as well. Good. At least that was one thing.
What was he doing there? What's he doing there?
No, exactly.
He's 40 yards away from his goal. He just ran out. The thing with mine is, do you remember last season where Curtis Jones got sent off at Spurs and Liverpool had that? It was the big debate about the offside, and then that was the first time video they started releasing the audio tapes because of Liverpool. Of course, Liverpool make the audio tapes released, and now they're starting to release the audio tapes. Right? Don't really nothing said about the Newcastle one for our goal, but the release of the audio tapes for a marginal offside is there's all uproar for Liverpool, and that ref can never ref them again or whatever. But the Curtis Jones one, if you don't remember it, it was against Basuma, I think, and he goes in for a tackle and his foot goes way over the ball, and because of that he treads down on Basuma's ankle, and it's a red card for me. It's reckless and it's a red card. For this one, I don't think Timber's attempting to tackle. I think he's attempting to drag the ball back. So it's not a challenge for me. That's the first. So he obviously his foot's on top of the ball, but his foot's on top of the ball simply because he's just trying to drag the ball back. Poro comes in, and what makes it really, really silly is I'm not certain there's any contact with Poro, but if there is, it's marginal. And obviously he reacts like a complete tart. And that's what can play into it. And I don't think it's a booking. Now, if you're giving him a booking for his reaction and putting his arms up against Vicario, then I guess I've got no problem with that, because it's a booking aside, no problem. But I don't think that wasn't... that definitely wasn't what Timber got booked for. He got booked for the challenge. And then people, of course, look at that and go, well, that's one. Here's another. It's the Martinelli Rice thing all over again, and 2 and 2. But if you evaluate the first challenge, it's not a booking. And I don't think it's a foul. Because, like I said, I don't think he's made a challenge there. I think he's put his foot on the top of the ball and just trying to roll it back. And there's very, very faint contact with Poro, if any. But there's absolutely no tackle being made at all. So I think it's really ridiculous. And to go back to it, the amount they do on all these commentaries, I mean, mine was sort of talking about for 4 or 5 minutes. And I was like, that's absolutely ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? I mean, absolutely, utterly silly. And I think the ref was, again, guilty as they have been all over the weekend. I mean, making records for yellow cards. I've just handing out too many yellow cards. They gave one to Saliba for a nonsense yellow in the first half here. He might have been the first yellow card given. I can't remember exactly what it was for, but it was I remember watching it and just thinking, that's a nonsense yellow. If it's a foul, fair enough, but it's a nonsense yellow card. If you're going to give him for that, you're in real trouble. When he was in real trouble, and in the end, he had to slow it right down, didn't he, and start basically provided some common sense a little bit. This ref we've had problems with as well across the board. So luckily this was the worst it got. And, when I watched that, I was like, oh, please don't send Timber off, to be honest, after everything we saw last week. So I think in our heads, maybe, but I loved how the team, got right around Saka right there, pushing at Vicario, right, having nothing of it, because we know Vicario's a bit jittery as well. And that all played in, I think it all played in to everything that came in the second half, because Vicario doesn't like anyone near him, doesn't like anyone's hands on him. He likes to be free as a bird and doing his famous shot-stopping staves. But if you put anyone near him, you're going to notice that he's got little biscuit legs as well, and his knees start to buckle, and that's exactly what happened. He starts to fall backwards into his goal, and I thought it was fantastic. But yeah, first half ended, I mean, it was touchy affair, wasn't it? It was very close. There wasn't a lot in it. They obviously had a lot of ball, but you always felt we were dangerous on the break. Neil, set pieces, let's talk about it, because it was early in the second half, 65th minute. But first of all, I mean, Gabriel unbelievable on both ends of the pitch. But us from set pieces as well, Neil. I mean, we are just lethal at him. And I thought the delay in taking this one of about 3 to 4 seconds was brilliant. We were trying to perfect that all first half, and we didn't quite get it, or the corner wasn't right. But we got it. And I think that's what Jova plays on. He is like, if you get 6 corners, you're going to get it once or twice. And that's what we're looking for, and oftentimes we're always decoying for the big mans, which is Gabriel typically, or one or two others, maybe Havertz as well. But I thought it was a fantastic set play again, Neil.
Talking about Gabriel, since his debut, he's got 15 goals. 15. And he's tops the charts on that. I think by 5. I think the next is 10. It might be wrong, but by or maybe 12. He's up there by quite some way. He's become so reliable for our set pieces, isn't he, in terms of targeting, like you said, Havertz as well. But yeah, the set piece, the credit's got to go to the set piece coach. It's got to. Yeah, all right. The players implement it and they do their thing, but the set piece coach has got it well sorted, and defensively, not just offensively, both sides of the coin. But I just love the way that he sets all the players up to be a menace to the defenders, to block them, to stop them from moving away, and giving the other to the targets the room, and that's what they need. They need the room. But I think their man was watching him, and then he just decided that he turned he turned away from him. He was just wasn't even looking at him at that point. And then of course the pundits got onto that one as well. All we had on Sky. I'm sorry to carry this Sky thing on, but it's insane to me.
Oh, it's good to bring it up. I didn't mention it, so yeah.
The first half was all about Timber should have been sent off. The second. Oh, that was a foul on Gabriel. That was a foul. Gabriel's goal shouldn't get counted. He fouled his man. I thought, are you serious? How many goals are scored? Jack, the recording button has gone. Are you still recording?
Yeah, still recording.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, carry on.
It just disappeared from my screen. Okay,
Thank you for letting me know.
Sorry about that. Yeah. How many times have we seen players get, pushed, shoved? Our players as well. All right, I'm going to be biased. Our players, and the goal's given. And not only is the goal given, but none of the pundits say a word. Oh, what a great goal! Yeah, you have to be a bit more aggressive in the penalty area. We get criticised if we're not aggressive enough. If the goal doesn't come, then we're aggressive in the penalty area. Oh no, well that's a foul. That shouldn't be a goal. The agenda it's getting so bad. For me, there's no question now. There's agenda against us. There is no question, because everyone is against us. Everyone outside the club is against us. No one wants us to win that title. I have to say, though, I have to be fair to Match of the Day, which normally also annoyed me. But I think because Theo was there, and I think it was Danny Rose. And Danny Rose was actually being really praising us. It was like, you're an Arsenal fan.
He hates Spurs. He absolutely because they let him go, didn't they? And he wanted a contract and all this sort of stuff.
That says it all then, doesn't it? So I think that for us, for Match of the Day, they had two good pundits for us, and great. They didn't talk about any of that from memory. I mean, I only saw it once, and it was quite late last night, but I don't think they mentioned it. I think they talk about any, Timber should have been off, and that wasn't a goal. They just said, what a great goal. And what a great goal it is. Gabriel is just so powerful with his head, isn't he? I mean, that went in like a bullet. It really did. And the goalkeeper, you're right. I think anyone near him, he just didn't look comfortable, did he? He didn't look comfortable. The defence didn't have a clue because of the way our players are blocking them and setting themselves up. I think the guy, it was the defender. Was it? Who was
Romero.
It? Romero. It was Romero, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And, the one that everyone says is one of the best centre-backs in the world, but he's an absolute drifter. He's an absolute drifter. He's a joke.
Exactly. I mean, I think they said that he's more comfortable zonal marking rather than man-to-man marking, but he was rubbish whatever he did. Absolutely nonsensical, but I don't care. Good. I'm not going to take nothing away from Gabriel. That was a fantastic header, so powerful. And the way the net bulging for us in a North London derby, especially at their ground, is the most heartwarming sight that an Arsenal fan can see. And I didn't celebrate straight away because you know what it's like. I'm not going to...
especially as they mentioned the concept, I'm sure.
Yes, and I was like, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the VAR. I was checking it. It didn't come, and I was like, yes.
You can't rule out. I mean, look, Neil, when you look at Newcastle away from us, which was Gabriel involved again, I mean, Jolinton's basically got two hands locked in the back of Gabriel, pushing him to the floor. And forget all the other stuff, the offside and the ball being out and all of that got blown. You can't be disallowing things for this. Someone putting their hands out in front of them to create a bit of space. It happens all the time. I mean, at the same time, Van der Ven's bear hugging Saliba. So if you want to evaluate it all, evaluate everything then. Because, okay, cancel the goal, give it a penalty. Do what you want. I mean, but none of that should be given, and none of it should be talked about. What should be talked about is what you just said, is the fantastic delivery again from Saka, the great timing, and I think sort of decoys. If you watch Saliba, he has no intention of trying to go for the ball. He knows exactly where it's wanting to go, and Gabriel gets on the end of it. And what I find hilarious about the set piece stuff with Spurs specifically, because obviously we know we're really effective from set pieces, and hopefully long may it continue. But Spurs are quite the opposite, right? I mean, we scored 2 there last season. Looks like they haven't learned from it. And every time Ange Postecoglou gets interrogated about it, he really downplays it. He's like, I've been interrogated about this all my whole career. And I was like, well, that's your first problem, mate. Why do people keep interrogating you about set pieces? And he's like, and I just think there's more things to worry about. And he really downplays it, which must infuriate Tottenham fans, because he's basically saying, no, I don't care about it. And he says the same when they talk about the rivalry between Tottenham and Arsenal. In pre-game, I kind of see some quotes, and he's like, well, if you think this is our biggest game, then I've got nothing to say to you. You know, there's so many big games in the season. And he says, and I'm like, they are not going to like that, mate. This is their cup final. Trust me. This is all they care about, Tottenham.
It's all they live for.
Oh, absolutely. And so I find that really funny. He seems to have got, a problem, him and the Spurs fans, ever since the City game last season, where they all wanted to lose it, and he realised how small a club they are, I think. But so I find that part quite funny. But I think you're absolutely right. It's a complete nonsense on the foul. I say that as objectively as I can. If the goal had been scored against us, I would have, and Romero was our defender, I'd say they've got to be stronger there. They can't be getting moved away from their players.
Great point.
Exactly.
Point.
Now, if you go down, if you fly down to the floor, ref's got a decision to make. Maybe it's exaggerating, but it's just like the Porro incident, right? Suddenly the ref's got to look at it more. But, Romero knew full well we couldn't go down off that. It's contact like any contact you have in the box. And by the way, the same weekend, Haaland scores a goal from Ederson, big long kick, and basically doesn't use his arms, but he places his whole body into the Brentford player. Obstruction, basically. But it's not going to get given. It can't get given. It would be ridiculous to give it, but no one mentions it. No one says a word about it. Why? Because it's Haaland.
That's the annoying part.
Yeah, and that's the annoying part. And they know they're going to trigger a lot of people and get a lot of feedback from it, like people talking about it, and that's what they want. But that's the problem with Sky Sports is they've become they feed in now to the lowest denominator of fans. So they feed into the stupidity of fan bases, and understanding that people will listen to clowns more than they'll listen to quality analysis. So if you give something out that's really silly, more people are going to tune into it and click on it and react to it. And that's why they have fan TV people presenting their shows now and things like that. I mean, it's become a parody of itself, really, Sky Sports. And I'm glad I don't really have it anymore. I just see clips of it, but I don't have it as such.
I just wanted to say, and I think the other thing is they know Arsenal, I think, still have the biggest presence in social media by far, and they know that if we say something controversial, we're just going to get so much feedback. And look, for anyone out there in the public eye, even negative feedback is still feedback, and it's still attention to themselves, isn't it? So you're absolutely right. I think that's what Sky's become. You've nailed it, Jack. They're calling it a parody. That is what it is. By having those lot from that channel on, that in itself is just a crime. You're talking about a huge media company, and they're supposed to be, utterly professional, just, completely professional. Yet they get idiots like that on their show. So yeah, you're right. It's become a parody, and so I don't expect anything less. But it's still annoying. I want to hear something, positive in the half time or something constructive. And yet we get that should have been a red card. And then afterwards, that was a fat foul by Gabriel, the goal shooter stood. What are you talking about? What is wrong with you people? I mean, forget it. Just
Yeah.
We won.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And after that, I mean, I wasn't comfortable by any means, but I felt, we had something to hold on to. It played into our hands a lot. They had to come at us even more. We could hit them more on the break. I don't feel we really did, but I think tiredness probably played into a factor there. We didn't have a lot to change it. I could tell we was waiting till the last minute to make those changes. I think it was partly based off of the fact that Gabriel, Jesus and Sterling just don't have a lot of minutes in their legs recently. Jesus obviously been out for a few weeks. Sterling been removed from the Chelsea squad for 3 or 4 weeks and training on his own. And I think you could see that a little bit when they came on. They both looked a little bit rusty, which was interesting. What was fantastic was the whole back four played the whole 90 minutes. And I don't think that's fantastic, but they had to, because he doesn't really have the trust anymore in Kivior. And we've seen that throughout the whole of pre-season and chances of him believing and all that kind of stuff. And he might have to pull that trust again if these players aren't returning. But in addition, we'd really, if he wasn't going to use Kivior, he didn't have anyone else to change it. So he had to just go, I know you're my best back four. I don't have anyone to change it to keep it to the level. I've got to keep you out there. But for someone like Timber, that was a really big step, I felt, because whilst White, Saliba and Gabriel have played thousands and thousands of minutes last season, that's a really big step for Timber to come back, third or fourth game, play a full 90. I bet he was physically feeling it, absolutely, and I hope he gets his rest in midweek that he deserves. But I thought that was really impressive to see the focus in those last 15 to 20. Were you worried at that stage, and what were your thoughts on the subs, Neil, in Jesus, Sterling, and who I thought was the most best cameo was in Ranieri. I thought he had some lovely little touches on the ball, and in a really intense environment for a 17-year-old kid. I thought for 10 minutes I was really impressed.
Yeah, right. Subs wise, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, yeah, okay, because he probably didn't have many to choose from, but to be one alignment, maybe you're thinking, should we protect it? Arteta brings on 3 attackers, or effectively 3 attackers. You're thinking, wow, you're right. No Kiwior to help the defence. That says a lot, doesn't it? It's a massive statement. I don't really trust him. So yeah, we'll keep them lot still there, and hopefully then he might rotate for the next game. But to bring on 3 attackers, essentially, that's interesting. Maybe he wanted to give Sterling a little bit of time, which I think is right, because I would like to see him against City. I was actually wanting to see a bit more of him at Tottenham, but I think it worked out well the way it did. So, who's going to question Arteta? I'm not. But I think maybe it might be good to see him, if not at City, then maybe against Atlanta, because we need to rotate. So I think that was a good one. And same with Jesus. But Ethan, my God almighty, that bit of skill. I mean, I know that the final ball was offside, but oh my God, that skill. And I'm thinking, I've seen this kid and I know what he's all about. And I think everyone who knows Arsenal knows what he's all about. Jack, seriously, I think he's got to play senior games this season. He's too good not to. You can't bring him in to the senior squad and not play him. He's just too good. Everyone started somewhere. Yeah, okay, I know Emerson Rowe and Saka got their chances because of injuries, but we've got an injury now. Odegaard's out. Play him against Atlanta, please. Don't just use him in the Caribou Cup. Play him for the main games, the main competitions, because I think this kid is going to get, with minutes, he's going to be something really special. And if we can harness it this season, where we need to win the league or we need to win a trophy, do it. Because from what I saw of him, he's got his head screwed. To me, he looks strong. He's super confident. The way he reminds me a bit of Saliba. The way Saliba's just so sure of himself in what he does. He's this kid at 17 is so confident and well aware of what he can do and what his abilities are. He's not afraid. He doesn't seem to show any fear in everything he does, Jack. And I just love the fact that I think he'll go one-on-one with players as well. He will just literally go through them. It reminds me a little bit of Jack Wilshere as well, just a little bit.
Well,
the way Jack used to be. His bursts.
Oh, centre of gravity.
Wasn't scared of players. Jack, I'm begging you, Arteta, please play him against Atlanta. If you talk about changing and rotating, he has to feature against Atlanta.
Well, I think you got a good shout there, because he can't play Partey and Jorginho together again. Even if he plans to do it next weekend, I don't think he will. But let's say he does, he can't do it. He knows he can't play that 3 times a week. He can't play Partey and Jorginho, so one has to drop out. Therefore, you've got to put someone in that 10 position. Now, I think the likelihood is he probably pulls Havertz over there and remakes the front three because of the options, the experienced options we've got up there. But like you, I would really like to see, maybe even if you just gave him 55 minutes when Yeri, and see with Partey and Rice beside him, Jorginho and Rice beside, 2 really experienced players. That's a nice environment for him to come into and start. And he probably wouldn't have played in this game if Saka hadn't gone down. But that is in there. And I think he did enough in those 10 minutes to say, hey, you can trust me. I thought the best part of his whole performance was the last second, Son cuts inside and he blocks the shot. And then the whistle's blown 5 seconds later. And I was like, that was brilliant there. I really love that, because that shows that if you can be trusted under Arteta defensively, which Vieira and Emil Smith-Rowe never were. They were never trusted under Arteta defensively, which is why they're not here anymore. If you can be trusted defensively under Mikel Arteta, he's going to get minutes, because I think he already trusts him on the ball. There's no question about that. And it's all about, can you contribute like close to what Odegaard does defensively? Can you get close to that? And that would be huge. But what a win. Sterling also looked a little bit rusty. He had that one moment where he could have shot, could have passed, did neither. Like almost just didn't get out of his feet. Looked like he just felt a little bit of rust there. And I'd love to see him start against Atalanta. Neil, I know we pushed for time, but brilliant win. Fantastic win. I thought one person we didn't mention enough of was Havertz, who did this dual 10-9 role or 8-9 role, whatever you want to call it, and the energy and the engine on the bloke to still be an out option for Raya 5-6 times and challenge and win those balls and win free kicks, but then also to be a part of that sort of defensive group and win tackles and win aerials and things like that. I just thought we've got a player here that is just, he can adjust to so many different types of scenarios in game, different formations. He's got to be an absolute dream for someone like Arteta that loves to just do these adaptations game by game and in-game management and stuff like that. Fantastic. Of course, everyone wants a number 9 that can score 3 goals a game, but if you don't have that player, which are very few and far between, this is the sort of player you want. I think he's fantastic. He's completely selfless for the team, isn't he? Really brilliant. But yeah, that was definitely one I want to mention. Neil, predictions. We may not do one in midweek, so we're going to do 2 predictions. At Atalanta away on Thursday. Again, the fixture list. I mean, trust us to fight for Champions League football for years and years and years, and we're still playing Thursdays. Look at that. And the frustrating thing, of course, is in a very big week for us with a massive game coming up following it. And also, I don't believe there's many Thursday games in the Champions League. It might be this one and one other. So I get the feeling that a lot of teams don't play them, but of course we are, and away and whatnot. So, but you got to deal with the hand that's dealt to you. No one's gonna like take any excuses on it. So, but what's your predictions for Thursday? If you see any changes there, and then obviously one against City on Sunday.
Yeah, I think he's got to rotate. He has to, because we can't play the same team Thursday. All right, okay, well, obviously Rice will be different, fair enough, but you can't just rely on that change. I think he's got to tinker a little bit with the front, the pack, if possible. I don't know. I think you were right saying off air that Timber, surely with coming back from this injury, he can't play again straight away.
Or rest him. He's going to play at City, right? I mean, after that performance, you're going to go. You got to play at City. So. Exactly.
So Kiwi always there, but if he doesn't trust him, he doesn't trust him. I don't know if Rico's going to be fit. If he is, give him a go, and why not? I don't see any problem with that, because I think he's a beast. So let's see what he can do. And then obviously the midfield changes. I want to see Ethan. I'm sorry, I don't care. I need the kid's got to play. If he's got to play, I think we have to see that talent that he's got, and he's got to be allowed to bring it to the fore. He has to. If he doesn't get minutes, he's not going to progress. Jack, it's as simple as that. So I think there, and then because you're right, we can't see Partey and Jorginho, because there's a chance that maybe they're going to have to feature some capacity. And Partey maybe all the 90 minutes against City, so they can't do that. They haven't got they haven't got the legs, they haven't got the engine. And by the way, you talked about Havertz being unbelievable. He's got so many facets to his game, as you said. Like his target man, he can defend. He's a nuisance to defend. Everything. If you think about it, he's got it all, and he can score goals with his feet and his head. But I thought Jorginho didn't do bad, considering he hasn't played anything.
He didn't.
He was a great player for us as well. So I just want to give him a quick shout. So I think there's going to be changes as to what he does. I think you're right, though. I think he'll still start with Martinelli, though. I just got this feeling. I don't know if he'll give Jesus or Sterling a shout. Maybe that's why he brought them in for a few minutes. So maybe one of those two will get a go. But Saka, we want to see him rested. I don't know what that injury was about at the end there. I don't know if you've heard anything. But he'll play, won't he? Of course he will. So
yeah.
That's my worry. I think there should be some changes. I don't know exactly what will happen. We'll have to wait and see. But my predictions are quickly. Atlanta is a complete unknown for me. I just don't know, Jack. I haven't got a clue, but I'll always go with a win. I'll say we'll get a 2-0 against Atlanta, and against City. Wow, we owe them. We have to win, don't we? My head says a draw. My head says a 1-1 draw. My heart says a 1-0 win. I'll go with my heart. A 1-0 win again. I know we got it at home, but I think we'll reverse it. We'll get it away this time. 1-0, and it will be... I'm going to go for it, man. I'm going to say Sterling.
Okay. Love how blimey.
Atlanta. I know what? He needs a goal. I don't know if he'll get it, but Martinelli, Atlanta, 2-0.
2-0. Okay. I'll go Atlanta are good. I mean, they won 3-2 at the weekend against Fiorentina. They have a bit of an indifferent start to the season, but obviously they're Europa League winners, aren't they? So, and they absolutely... that manager is very, very smart. I mean, he's an older manager, but he absolutely battered Liverpool home and away last season. I think they won 3 or 4-0, didn't they, overall? So they're no mugs for sure. But... yeah, I'll go. I think it'll be tough in midweek. I really do, because of the change and the turnover, and I hope he makes 3 or 4 changes like you. But I'll go 2-1 in midweek if we can get that. You know, a point even in midweek is not the end of the world because of the way the new format is. But yeah, you obviously want to win. You want to get off to a winning start. So I'll go 2-1, and I'll go 2-1 Havertz. I'll go with that, and then City. I'll go 1-0 as well, but I was thinking 1-0 as well, but man, we're going to have to put in an unbelievable performance to do that.
We're going to have to play the game of our lives, mate.
Yeah, I'll go 1-0 Martinelli. I do think Martinelli will start that one. I've got this fear. I think he will. I think they don't love him up against Walker. I don't think they like that scenario, and I think we know that. And I think he'll probably start. But we play Thursday. They play Wednesday. They don't have the easiest of game. They're at home, but I think they've got Inter, haven't they?
I think so.
Is it Inter? I think it is.
I think it is.
Let me just quickly check that before we go. I mean, at least Inter they're a pretty good Italian team.
Yeah, they are.
So that if it is that, I can't. My laptop on the other end.
I'll quickly check. 1 second. Yeah.
Here we go. It's coming up now.
Oh, you got it. Yeah.
It's coming up. Yeah. I got it. Hold on. Yes, Inter.
It is.
It is Inter. So, let's hope Inter go there with a plan to try to stifle them. And I mean, I expect City to win, but if they can give them a game at least. But yeah, they've looked pretty. I mean, they did look a little bit tetchy at the weekend against Brentford, in fairness. But Neil, we've overrun. We're at Purely Arsenal FP on Twitter. You can follow us there. Purely Arsenal on YouTube. Please subscribe to us there. We do a podcast a week if we can. Always post game. Neil, it's been a pleasure. North London is red as always.
Thank you so much, Jack, for having me on.
Brilliant wind. Massive week ahead. Okay, keep the faith, boys. Up the Arsenal.